Hey everybody, it's Joe with Joe Knows Cryptos back with another video. So, I know a lot of people probably come to this channel for financial indications of what I'm doing and reports, but I mean, honestly, if anybody wants to see what the New York Stock Exchange is doing, they can just go on their phone or their laptop or whatever, or turn on the TV on one of the financial channels. It's not that difficult to do so for me to sit here and say, oh, the Dow is up 90 points today or down 50 points today, or cryptocurrencies are up or down. I mean, these are things that you all obviously know. The reason that we come here is to get my thoughts on things. And I also appreciate your comments down below, because I think together we can all work together to help kind of figure out things. But I think I've got a pretty good grip on what's going on here. So, first of all, I started with that statement because it's about finance, right? But the big picture is that this whole thing is not about finance. It's about control, okay? The people on top want to control the people on the bottom, and they already have us basically under control, right? They've got control of all the big corporations, all the propaganda in the media. They've got even control over the doctors, as many of us who have open eyes can see the whole C-19 thing that happened was planned, because let's face it, the first story they gave is that this was started in a wet market with bats. And they had a picture on the internet of some lady barely putting her teeth on a bat wing like this. Remember that picture? You've probably seen it. You know, she wasn't in there eating the bat. They probably did that just for a promotional propaganda type of photo. And then they had some people shake and fall over and things like that, which can be from any time or any date. It could just be something you're all caught on, like random cameras on the street. It could be somebody just having a seizure and falling over, right? But they maybe saved it or had it, you know, in their file, and then they released it when C-19 came out. So who knows about any of that stuff, if that was even realistic, because I don't know that to be one of the side effects. But what it did is it put a scare in people, right? So Indian doctors first came out when C-19 first came out and said that this was a man-made virus. They saw the incisions on the virus when they looked at it under a high power microscope, and they can see where different types of viruses were added and connected, kind of like Frankenstein, kind of like when you get a cut and you have a scar. They saw scars on this virus, and they knew that it was man-made right from the start, but the news never reported it because, like I said, the news is controlled. It's all about control, and the ultimate control is controlling us, okay? Now, since this is about control, and since C-19 is going to be one of the excuses for why everything goes to shit, they're going to add the blame Russia, of course, and the Ukraine for another reason why everything's going to shit, when that's not an excuse either, because, you know, you can look up, was it the Wolf something shale reserve? We have like 20 years of natural gas and oil in that alone. Fracking is needed, but that's how much we have. So we're nowhere near any kind of oil or gas shortages. We don't need to go to Saudi Arabia to get fuel. America is energy independent if we want to frack and even just drill oil in the Gulf and in Texas and other places. But of course, the government's put all kind of restrictions and all kind of red tape on being able to do that, taxing these companies. So it's not really financially, you know, they've got to sell oil and gas at a higher price just to make it worth their time to do it. Shutting down pipelines, all these things, you know. So look, if you don't agree with me, that's fine. But to me, it seems pretty obvious. You can look up shale reserves in the United States, and there's at least 4 or 5 of them that have hundreds of millions of barrels of oil and natural gas, each one of them. So there's no way that we should have any shortages of that kind of thing if we didn't want to, okay? So obviously, if that happens, it's because we want to, and it's a way to control us. One of the biggest ways to control people is through energy. When you don't have energy, you're struggling just to stay alive, basically. because it affects your travel, it affects your heat in your house, your heating of your food and your water. It affects all the stores where you buy stuff from. So energy is, without a doubt, one of the biggest ways to control people, all right? So, with that being said, I want to talk about, first let me touch on Ukraine a little bit, since I did mention it. Does anybody know why Russia invaded Ukraine? I know the news story is because they're greedy monsters who just wanted to take more land, right? But I mean, Russia is a huge country. They have so much land that most of it's unpopulated. You know, does that really make sense? I mean, comment down below why you think Russia invaded Ukraine. But I can give you a few things that maybe you haven't heard of why they invaded Ukraine. One is that since C-19 was such a big scare, now whether you want to believe it was let out accidentally or intentionally is up to you. I have my thoughts on it. But did you know that Ukraine had over 24 biomedical labs that were stage, 4 or 5, whatever the most dangerous one is as far as creating deadly viruses and things like that. And it's right on Russia's border, of course. So that's one reason. They don't like what they think maybe the United States or China could be responsible for releasing C-19. And since all these biolabs in Ukraine are right on the Russian border, maybe they didn't want to have that chance of them releasing something and having it spread right into Russia. That's, to me, a logical reason more than they just wanted more land. Okay? Second reason is, and probably one of the biggest reasons, is because, well, there's many reasons actually. America has been, and the UN has been saying they're going to start putting troops and missiles and things like that in Ukraine. And back when the USSR, former USSR, became Russia and gave these countries all back their sovereignty, including Ukraine, one of the conditions of this happening was that none of these countries would fall into the UN or become part of the UN. And the UN wanted to make Ukraine part of the UN and move their missiles and military in. So Russia did not want to have potential enemies with missiles right on their doorstep. Again, Ukraine borders Russia. So does that make better sense to you why they would take over Ukraine rather than they just were greedy and wanted more land? No, they wanted to keep, you know, first of all, the treaty that they verbally agreed to up. And when, you know, somebody that you're not really friendly with breaks a treaty, what are you supposed to do? Just let them walk all over you? I mean, like Russia or not, I'm not saying I like Russia or not. I'm just saying these are reasons why I understand why they went into the Ukraine. And another reason is, another main reason is that Ukraine is mainly the place where Russia takes its a lot of its oil and goods that they import and export through Ukraine, because there is really the one and only way they can get to a warm water port is through Ukraine and also through Syria. And remember how we had all these conflicts with Syria before Trump got into office, you know, saying that there were chemical attacks and that their leader was killing children and all these types of things. See, to me, it all ties together when you look at the big picture. This is America trying to get Russia in a tough spot because they need that warm water port to import and export out of. Without it, it's a longer trip around, and it's ocean that they really can't use. It's really hard working conditions in the bitter, bitter cold winters that Russia have. So that warm water port is vital to them. It's almost a lifeline for them. And if that's taken away, the whole country suffers immensely. And that's another one of the main reasons why I believe Russia took over or invaded Syria, is because they cannot risk losing that lifeline. So as a human being, I can relate to that. I can understand the reasons why Russia went into the Ukraine. So, all right, so that's that. So I was saying, Syria, that's how it all started, because Syria also is on the side of that warm water port as well. So if you know, United States or the UN controls Syria, that makes things very difficult on Russia or the Ukraine. So both of those countries are two places where we really have no business having anything to do with, because there's human atrocities going on all over the world, yet those are the ones where we are having wars in. Let's face it, guys, there's something going on there. And it's, you know, like I said, I'm not a Russof, you know, love Russia or anything like that. I'm just stating that I can see the big picture, and that America is actually, and the UN are actually the ones at fault. And because they are actually under control of the World Economic Forum, and Russia is one of the countries who has actually kicked the World Economic Forum out of their country. I'm not saying that Russia has good politics or good plans, but I do know that they don't want to be under globalist control. All right. So with that, at 11 minutes here, I'm going to stop this video. I'm probably going to run out and do a part 2 as well today, so we can get into a little bit more of the financial aspects. But I think it's just important to know why I think the way I'm thinking, and the reasons that they're not just baseless ideas. You know, I'm building a foundation here as to why the World Economic Forum and why I think we're going to go into a total collapse is imminent unless something is done. Please comment below if you disagree, agree, or have any other ideas on the subject. All right? God bless each and every one of you.